Aging Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of judges, of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, Mr. Musa Mwinye, State Counsel, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongo Lamba, Dr. Henry Wanga Mbuji, and Dr. Obrian Kaba to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission Board, respectively.
Others include Mr. Gilbert Anford Piri to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and Dr. Pamela Towela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Miss Laura Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as the Vice Chairperson and Commissions of the Human Rights Commission, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd June 2022.
The other motion will be moved by Mr. Brigadier General Sitwala, retired, who is chairperson of that's the Zambia delegation to the 20th ordinary session for the plenary assembly to the Forum of Parliaments of the member states of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, Nairobi, Kenya, which took place on 2nd to 6th April 2022, urging the House to adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 12th ordinary session of the plenary session assembly of Forum. For now, we'll cross over to the floor.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight for one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hand. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. Honorable members, I have two announcements to make. The first one is I wish to acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of the following members of the Ad hoc Committee of the Parliamentary Service Commission from the Parliament of Tanzania. The head of delegation is Honorable Ambassador Obeni Sefue. Honorable Ludovic Uta, member. Honorable Rashid Bande, member. Honorable Jafet Sangasi, member. Honorable Agnes Mena, member. Mr. Michael Kadebe, Secretariat. Miss Trifonia Ngongo, Secretariat. Mr. Emmanuel Mpanda, Secretariat. And Mr. Mkuta Musoli, Secretariat. I wish, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, to receive our distinguished guests and warmly welcome them in our midst. Thank you. The second announcement. Honorable members will recall that on Wednesday, 15th June 2022, the House took a vote on the motion moved by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Chama North Constituency, Mr. Y. Ntachalo, MP, urging the government to amend the Constituency Development Fund guidelines. The vote was conducted using the e-chamber system, and the following were the results that were announced. The ayes, 54, the noes, 79, abstention, 0, attendance, 133. Following the announcement of the results, some honorable members expressed concern about the credibility of the vote because their iPads had displayed different results. In view of this, my office conducted investigations to establish how different results were displayed on members' gadgets. The first finding was that some members' iPad had a short display sleep time setting of 2 minutes. This meant that the iPads went into sleep mode every 2 minutes. When this happens, the e-chamber application loses connectivity to the server. This loss of connectivity results in the iPad retaining and displaying outdated results. This is why the results on the iPads that went into sleep mode were different from those on the tablets that did not. The second finding was that the results I had announced were different from the computer-generated voting result. Details of the system-generated results were as follows. Ayes 45, noes 70, abstention 1, attendance 134. Honorable members, whereas the earlier results showed that 133 members were present and voted, the system-generated voting result details showed that 134 members were present for the vote, but only 116 voted. Therefore, 18 members did not vote. In terms of political affiliation, those that did not vote were as follows. UPND 9, PF 8, Independent 1. Further investigations revealed that the discrepancy between the results I had announced and the computer-generated voting result details were caused by a malfunctioning in the e-chamber system during the taking of the vote. The malfunction resulted from the back-end server hanging while the vote was in progress. The back-end server is what stores information that has been entered on the e-chamber system. Consequently, at the time of announcing the earlier results, there were votes that had been cast which were visible on the e-chamber application but had not yet been stored on the back-end server. However, when the server hung, those votes could not be stored. This is what led to a reduction in the number of votes cast from the 133 which displayed on the screen and which I had announced in the House to the 116 recorded on the computer-generated voting result detail. Additionally, the hanging of the system led to a delay in the closing of the vote after I had announced that the vote had closed. This is evident from the fact that the document I used to declare the results indicated that the vote closed at 1740 hours. The system-generated voting result detail, on the other hand, showed that the vote closed at 1745 hours. This meant that the vote remained open for an additional 5 minutes after I had announced that it had closed. This allowed one member to join and cast their vote, thus increasing the abstentions from 0 to 1, and the total number of members in attendance from 133 to 134. Honorable members, I have carefully considered the matter and concede that the result of the vote on the motion were erroneous. However, I'm persuaded to take the computer-generated result to be a near reflection of what, in effect, the result of the vote was. In doing so, I have given the benefit of doubt to the 18 honorable members who were recorded as present but did not vote. Even assuming that all the 18 honorable members voted with the ayes on the motion, the noes would still have been in the majority and the result of the vote would in effect remain the same. Honorable members, the political leadership in the House were informed about these findings. In view of the above, I now direct the clerk to amend the results of the vote in line with the computer-generated evidence as follows. Ayes 45, noes 70, abstention 1, attendance 134. I thank you. May the acting leader of government business indicate business of the House for next week.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to give the House an indication of the business it will consider next week. Madam, on 28th June 2022, the business of the House will begin with questions if there will be any. This will be followed by presentation of government bills if there will be any. Thereafter, the House will debate the motion to adopt the report of the Legal Committee, Legal Affairs, Human Rights and Governance. Madam Speaker, on Wednesday, 29th June 2022, the business of the House will start with questions if there will be any. Thereafter, the House will consider a private member's motion entitled Restrict Mining Rights for Precious Minerals to Zambia, to be moved by Mr. F. Kapyanga, Member of Parliament for Mpika Central Constituency. This will be followed by presentation of government bills if there will be any. The House will then debate the motion to adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee. Madam, on Thursday, 30th June 2022, the business of the House will begin with questions if there will be any. This will be followed by a presentation of government bills if there will be any. Thereafter, the House will debate the motion to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply. Madam Speaker, on Friday, 1st July 2022, the business of the House will commence with the Vice President's question time. Thereafter, the House will consider questions if there will be any. This will be followed by presentation of government bills if there will be any. The House will then debate the motion to adopt the report of the Parliamentary Reforms and Modernization Committee. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member, it appears that item is going to pass. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development to make a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Madam Speaker, I'm here to make a ministerial statement on measures government is taking in creating a balance between economic activities and safety of the miners at the slag dump, popularly known as the Black Mountain. Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the House and the nation at large on the measures being taken to protect the lives of the people at the Nkana slag dump in Kitwe, commonly known as the Black Mountain. Let me put it on record that there has not been any death of miners in the recent past, as has been reported in some sections of the media. Operations within the Black Mountain premises have been running safely since the commencement of the 30% Youth Empowerment Cooperative Scheme 4 months ago. Safety measures have been implemented to safeguard personnel working in the highly mechanized mining method, which involves benching from top to down. The mechanization has left the site with very minimal human activities, which are mainly to supervise operations. Madam Speaker, the House may wish to know that the following safety measures have been taken in order to create a safe working environment. Number one, the license holders, Madam Speaker, have contracted the mining company to execute all mining activities on their behalf. The contractor has appointed a competent and experienced mining engineer as mine manager to supervise, control, and direct all the mining operations at the site. Number three, workers, which includes 15 excavator operators, 40 spotters, 10 relief operators, 10 safety officers, 10 site managers, 20 logistic officers, undergo safety talk before operations conducted by the respective supervisors, which generally sensitize the workers on the safe manner in which to interact with heavy presence of machinery and moving trucks at a safe distance. Number four, workers, which includes 15 excavator operators, spotters, relief operators, and safety officers, are prevented from getting close to a high wall, which is not supported by putting a ribbon, barricaded, or supervision. Number five, the miners are required to be in full personal protective equipment when inside the premises. And number six, miners are inducted on how to conduct themselves on the mine. Madam Speaker, according to safety records, the slag dump 48 has not recorded any fatal accident thus far within the confines of the mining operations at the licensed area. However, it is sad and regrettable to record fatal accidents that have happened away from the slag dump premises by trucks delivering material to off-takers, which can be categorically be described as RTAs or road traffic accidents. Madam Speaker, the deaths have brought about by youthful Quito residents with a tendency of illegally climbing on top of trucks in search of high-grade slag material, commonly known as chromium. It is so unfortunate, Madam Speaker, to lose lives in this manner. Currently, measures of using a different route, which passes through Mopani Savage Yard en route to Kalulushi Road, which will not likely expose residents to loaded trucks for a long distance, is under consideration, and as late as yesterday, there was actually a trial on that road. Madam Speaker, the police, being the major stakeholder in terms of maintaining order and preventing criminal activities, have been deployed on critical parts of the route to stop any attempts by the youths to get onto moving trucks as they deliver the material to the respective off-takers. The patrolling of the police on the moving trucks along the vulnerable areas of the community will subsequently prevent any such RTAs in future. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this august House, therefore, that government appreciates the economic activities and value accruing from the slag dump. As such, safety of the miners at the slag dump is equally critical. Therefore, the Ministry of Mines will continue to ensure that there is continued order at the Black Mountain. In addition, the Ministry will ensure that operations are running smoothly and that there is a competent, qualified, and experienced mine manager overseeing the operations every time. This is in line with provisions of the Mines and Minerals Act number 11 of 2015. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development. Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and we appreciate the ministerial statement from the Honorable Minister responsible for mines. And indeed, it has been a concern to all of us looking at the number of incidents that have occurred. Honorable Minister, one of the reasons that has been cited for the compromised safety has been the way the cake has been shared. There was a consent judgment between government and Nkana Alloy, in which consent judgment, government was given 30% to allocate to the beneficiaries. 10% was to go to the youth, 10% to the women, and the other 10% to the other interest groups around Kitwe. Can you share with this August House and the nation how that sharing was implemented? Because the few complaints that have generated youth to start running to that site is because they feel they were not included in the sharing of the dump site material. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Although the question appears like it's on the sharing, the matter of urgent public importance that was raised was in relation to the dates, the several dates that maybe if the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu can be more.
The clarification, Madam Speaker, is that out of these youths who felt left out, they then started going to the site without being managed and regulated. And that is what caused commotion. And you have seen a number of running battles on the streets of the police, even the Honorable Member for Usakile yesterday was on your platform, the TV platform, confirming to the nation that there have been these running battles and casualties that have resulted out of that. So it's a source of all these incidents, Madam Speaker. So I needed clarification from the Honorable Minister.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that question. Madam Speaker, this is the third statement I'm giving on the Black Mountain in this House. I have explained all the sharing. I have explained how it is structured. In terms of why people were having those fatalities, Madam Speaker, it's 2-3 kilometers away from the operations of the mine. How people are, the unfortunate deaths and condolences to the families that have actually lost their loved ones. People are conniving with drivers and they climb on top of the trucks. When the trucks hit a pothole or anything or it slides, the person falls off the truck and the truck runs over them. That has got nothing to do with the way the Black Mountain is structured. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Wacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and good morning. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the ministerial statement on the safety measures put in place at the slag dump in Kitwe, commonly known as a Black Mountain. Your statement, Honorable, has helped to clarify whether any deaths have occurred at the Black Mountain. Minister, what plans does your ministry have for a similar slag dump in Kabwe, former mining site? Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me an opportunity to pose a question on the subject matter on the floor of the House. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Wacha. The ministerial statement is only in relation to the Black Mountain in Kitwe, not in Wacha, which is Kabwe. So let's restrict ourselves to the ministerial statement and only ask for points of clarification on the statement as rendered by the Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I would like to appreciate you for tendering a statement to the House and to the nation. One of the reasons that is alleged to have weakened security at the Black Mountain and thereby causing death is the allegation that there are several senior UPND members, including ministers and PSS, who have deployed trucks at the Black Mountain. Honorable Minister, how many ministers and PSS have deployed trucks, causing this problem of security and having people die? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I don't know whether people, our honorable members, have got questions to ask, because this issue, I have made it very clear, Madam Speaker, there is no death that has occurred at the Black Mountain, on the operations itself, at the mine. If, for example, Madam Speaker, Konkola mine, a truck gets copper from Konkola mine, it is moving in Chililagombwe, 2 kilometers away from the mine, people jump on the truck, they fall off and die. That is not an accident on the mine. That is an RTA on the road. So, and it has nothing to do with whether there is a minister or an MP or whoever at the Black Mountain. And maybe our honorable member would be kind enough to list down which ministers or MPs are actually on the list of those benefiting from the Black Mountain. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, thank you. Let's have some order. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a very privileged person because both times that there's been an empowerment, I've been in leadership. The last time under the previous government, I was DC. Now I'm MP. And therefore, I provide guidance or advice.
Order, Honorable Member for Nkana. Just a moment. There's a point of order that is being raised by the opposition whip. What's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for giving this opportunity. We want clarifications from the Honorable Minister. He himself has offered condolences to the families who could have lost their loved ones due to this operation. These trucks is claiming people are falling from because of this operation going on. They are not jumping on any other trucks. These trucks they are jumping on trucks that are carrying material from the dump site. So you can't delink those incidents from the operations of the Black Mountain. What safety measures is supposed to be sharing? Those who are moving trucks, whether it's colleagues or not, what measures are they putting in place? Because we see, look at Slanga Cement, when they are moving stones from where they quarry from to come and crash, it's part of the operation. So you can't delink. Is it in order, Madam Speaker, to try and delink those? We are talking about lives and deaths of human beings. So we need to be sincere and serious to each other. Madam Speaker, is it in order to delink those deaths from the operations of the Black Mountain? We want clear questions, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. From where I'm sitting and listening to what the Honorable Minister said, those accidents that are happening away from the dump sites. And they are happening as road accidents, RTAs as he called them. So in terms of measures, I believe then it's not only the Honorable Minister of Mines who should take measures, but I think even the Minister of Home Affairs, the Minister of Transport and Transport should also take measures in terms of trying to control. But it's something that I'm sure the honorable members on my right have taken note of, and measures will be taken to ensure that the instances of deaths on the road are reduced or controlled. Thank you. The Honorable Member from Nkana may proceed.
Madam Speaker, with my experience, it is true to say that there's been a lot of safety measures employed at the actual Black Mountain, and there's not been any recorded incidences at the actual Black Mountain. These incidences have been happening away from the Black Mountain, but it is true to say they are linked. Because, Madam Speaker, the young people are getting onto the tracks to get chrome. Now, it must be stated that there was a decision made that the young people must not go to the Black Mountain to pick chrome. In the end, it was decided that materials will be picked from the Black Mountain to be dumped outside so that the young people can be picking chrome. What has happened, Madam Speaker, is that that decision which was made to prevent accidents by trucks being ferried outside the Black Mountain, dumped, and then chrome be picked, that exercise stopped, forcing the young people then to be following the trucks, getting onto the trucks. Madam Speaker, the last time there was this exercise, there was that accident which killed a lot of people because young people used to go to pick chrome at the mountain. How that was prevented was, Saturdays and Sundays was reserved for benching, and young people would go to the mountain safely to pick chrome. One would have thought the best way then to prevent these young people who are looking for survival from going to climb on the mountains would be perhaps to set Saturday and Sunday to allow the young people to be going at the actual Black Mountain, properly benched, so that they can continue to pick and survive. Because when the decision was made that they will be picking outside, that exercise was stopped. I'd like to find out from the minister, wouldn't it be prudent for our young people to continue surviving, to allow those 2 days besides Saturdays and Sundays? There are no activities that happens in regards to materials being ferried. Why can't we do the same exercise on Saturdays and Sundays? Bench the mountain properly, allow these young people who are now climbing on these tracks to go at the mountain and start picking chrome, to avoid these fatalities, which are a way of young people climbing on tracks to earn a living, because the decision was stopped that these trucks could be dumping for them to continue picking chrome. Madam Speaker, that is what I would like to find out from the minister.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Nkana. I think that is the way to explain and ask a question that relates to what we are talking about. Yes, Madam Speaker, we did what the Honorable Member has talked about, taking the material away so that our chrome pickers can be picking, which we are still doing. If there are areas where this exercise has stopped, I need to do a one-on-one discussion with the Honorable Member. But as far as I know, that thing is being done. And Honorable Member, the issue of, again, Saturday and Sundays, we tried to look at that. According to our findings, it's one of the reasons that accident happened, because controlling a group of people on a mine, you realize, Madam Speaker, that slag dump, we only have access to 30%, but the way it is done, it is not very easy to demarcate people that don't go to this area. What will happen is that people will still sneak to the other side, and it may result in fatalities again. If there are areas where we are not doing that for the chrome pickers, then we'll have to revisit and check with the people that are doing the operations. Otherwise, whatever we have done, Madam Speaker, is in the best interest. And I want also to emphasize, members must also get the speech that I've just given, the statement. It is highlighting what we have done. I just mentioned in the statement, Madam Speaker, that we have now decided not to make loaded trucks go through the road where chrome pickers are strategically standing to jump on the trucks. Now the loaded trucks will be rerouted into a road that passes through Mopani, which is more secure, Mopani mine, Mopani copper mine. It is more secure. Then only empty trucks will be passing through the normal route and there will be no excitement to jump on them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Bwana Mukubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister for Mines, for that ministerial statement. Minister, I've read your submission as well as other members. The issue of the chrome pickers, them going to pick at the mountain for the weekend has not worked out. Again, they keep climbing on the trucks which are moving around the CBD. Minister of Mines, what is the way forward? Because as the way it looks, even when you pass through Mopani, these guys, they want to eat. They'll still chase those trucks. Has the ministry sat to look at the most feasible solution to ensure that these, our brothers, they still pick something somewhere so that we can avoid such fatalities? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Bwana Mkubwa. When we talk about the trucks passing through the Mopani mine, it will be almost impossible for anybody to jump on them because that place is very secure. Why we are using that route is to prevent such. Madam Speaker, I sympathize with our youths and these fatalities that are happening, which we are not happy about. We also want our people, and that's why they elected us. We want our people to survive, to earn a living. So, as much as we can do all the safety measures that we can, people will always misbehave. What we need to do is to reduce these kind of occurrences by doing the best that we can. We may not be 100%. These occurrences may happen, but we have done what is best to make sure that such things do not occur again. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chimwemwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for those safety measures that you've put in place at the mine site. However, Madam Speaker, I don't think those safety measures should only be confined to the mine site. They should actually extend right up to the end of the trip, which happens to be the buyers, because Mopani is not a buyer. So the trucks will only pass through Mopani and get to the final destination. I know there will be a cost implication. So the cost should be borne by the supplier. Because, Madam Speaker, it's not only the chrome pickers that lives at risk as they jump on tracks, but those tracks, Madam Speaker, they really drive at a high speed, causing unnecessary accidents to young school kids. So, Mr. Minister, what plans do you have to ensure that safety measures are also implemented along the way? By way of increasing your safety officers and pay them through the proceeds. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Chimwemwe, unfortunately, you were not very audible. I don't know if the Honorable Minister heard anything. Probably you could take off your mask, then maybe we could be more clearer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And also, please, no repeating the same
cinema,
questions.
Madam Speaker, it's quite terrible. I wish we could be changed. I was saying, Madam Speaker, we need safety to be extended to the routes all the way from the mine to the end users, because it's not only chrome pickers' lives that are at risk. These trucks, Madam Speaker, really drive at a very high speed. So we need safety officers all along, or maybe the safety officers should be escorting them. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. I think you guided well when you said when the trucks move away from the mine, it involves other sector ministries to work with us, because it's not only the Black Mountains material that moves on the road. There are several trucks carrying mine material that are running around the Kitwe roads. So I think you guided well. It is the involvement of other sector ministries, the police on the roads, which we have mentioned in the statement, and the safety officers, of course. But safety officers' job ends the moment the trucks leave the mining area. So I think that as you guided, this is how we are going to work. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chiluvi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think my question has been overtaken by events.
Oh, thank you very much. Honorable Member for Luvansenshi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister of Mines, for the ministerial statement that you have delivered. To begin with, this Bragg Mountain, Madam Speaker, was initiated to try and help the people of Zambia, the youth and women. And that directive really excited the youth and women, or may I say Zambians, by start forming the cooperatives and clubs. Now, we have this issue of safety at the Bragg Mountain, and where these youth, especially the boys, are trying to get something because they felt that they have left out from this arrangement of empowerment through cooperatives and clubs. May I wish to know from the Minister of Mines how many cooperatives or clubs that have been empowered, because this is one of the reasons that is prompting this youth to go and start following these tracks so that at the end of the day, they can be able to get a share. And what measures are you putting also in place to ensure that indeed the intended youth, women, are really get what they are supposed to get or benefit? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Luvansenshi, whereas your question is important, but is trying to expand the issue, the ministerial statement, because the Honorable Minister did not address the issue of cooperatives, how many were offered. And as the Honorable Minister said previously, there have been so many statements on this matter. We keep on repeating the same questions, but I'll make a statement at the end of this. The Honorable Member for Kasanengwa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing the people of Kasanengwa to get some clarification from the Minister of Mines. Honorable Minister, statements have been given, like the speaker has indicated before, so many of them. Unfortunately, Zambia, the people of Zambia keep on getting false alarms. People dying at the Black Mountain every now and then are things that come out in social media, and we get agitated, we get affected. Personally, I've been one of the victims who has believed the social media, and we've been wondering why you've not been doing something about it. And here, Honorable Minister who spoke earlier on indicated why there could have been deaths as opposed to the previous government when they had opened up the dump site on a weekend. Well, you may ask, man, it's okay. He has indicated, but you've stood your ground, and yet false alarms keep on coming on. My question, Minister, is even if you change the route, because at the end of the day we are talking about human life being lost, even if you contemplate changing the route for those trucks, do you assure this House that there will be enough security? Because these deaths are linked to the Black Mountain, like the area speaker indicated. How do you assure us that these deaths will be either reduced or avoided, even if you change the route from the current one to the one that you are suggesting, that you may open up that route to avoid deaths? Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't know whether I'll answer this question 100 times, but I'll answer. When you talk about false alarms, I think the Honorable Acting Leader of the House yesterday on the floor made it very clear about how we are tackling issues of false alarm. And I think that as leaders, we need to take it upon ourselves when an alarm is posted on social media. You check the facts. The Minister of Mines is there. The Honorable Nkana Member of Parliament is there. If there are false alarms around the Black Mountain, try and find out. Madam Speaker, we have done what we humanly can do. Human beings cannot be controlled 100%. They may find a way. They may find themselves inside the mine. Right now, as we are talking, there are people that are going in mines using whatever routes they are using to go and steal. So we can put 100% security, even in a house, Madam Speaker. You can put all the cameras and the guards, but somehow the thieves find themselves in. So these are things that happen in our lives. And we, as human beings and as leaders, we find a way to make everything possible for that not to occur. If it occurs, maybe it's an act of God. Madam Speaker, I hope that as I finish the statement on the Black Mountain, it may be the last one, because we need to talk about other mining activities in the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, I believe this issue of the Black Mountain has caused a lot of misapprehension from the members of the public, and also the social media has been escalating the news, which sometimes might not even be truthful. But from where I sit, I believe that this is an issue which needs to be addressed by all of us. The community, the members of parliament in those respective areas, and the executive working together to address this issue. I think the problems are motivated by the youths who are not even authorized to be at the Black Mountain, trying to take the law in their own hands by trying to enrich themselves, maybe motivated by the desire to get some living out of it. But I think if we work together with the community, members of parliament in those respective areas, engaging the executive, we'll be able to address this issue. But it's an issue that needs to be addressed, and addressed urgently. That is my observation on the matter. Thank you. Honorable members, and also notes of motion. The Honorable Member for Sesheke.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House adopts the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaint Commission, JCC, Mr. Musa Mwenye, State Counsel, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Wangambushi, and Dr. Obran Kawa to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission, board, respectively. And Mr. Gilbert Anford Piri to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC. And Dr. Pamela Tuela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Ms. Laura Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and members of the Human Rights Commission, HRC, respectively.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I wish to second the motion.
seconded by the Honorable Member for Kasama Central. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chadi Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC. Mr. Musa Mwenya, State Counsel, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Bwangambushi, and Dr. O'Brien Kava to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission Board, ACC, respectively. And Mr. Gilbert Adford Piri to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission. And Dr. Pamela Towela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Ms. Rora Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission, HRC, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd June 2022. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Sesheke.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much once again for giving me this opportunity to present to you a very important report arising from the Select Committee that was scrutinizing the presidential appointments. Madam Speaker, would you please allow me to maybe remove my face mask?
Although you are standing in close proximity with other honorable members, are you vaccinated?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Or maybe temporarily you can remove it, but immediately you finish, please put it back on.
Thank you so much,
and
Madam
this
Speaker.
is now creating a precedent.
Madam Speaker, the committee notes that all the appointments were made in accordance with the relevant laws. Madam Speaker, the JCC, ACC, and the HRC play a vital role in the administration and dispensation of justice, promotion of good governance, democracy, upholding the rule of law, human rights, and development. Therefore, to ensure only suitable qualified persons with a high level value of integrity, ethics, professionalism, and experience were appointed to the positions, the committee received submissions from various witnesses. Madam, the committee notes with satisfaction that all the state security agencies indicated that there were no adverse security reports against any of the nominees. Additionally, the other stakeholders generally submitted that all the nominees were suitably qualified and possessed the requisite experience to be appointed to their various positions. Madam Speaker, after its interaction with the nominees, the committee notes with satisfaction that the appointments were made on merit and is confident that the nominees will discharge their duties professionally and impartially. Madam Speaker, the committee observes that the constitutional requirements in Article 259 of the Constitution relating to gender balance and the inclusion of persons with disability in appointments has been observed. In this regard, the committee commends the appointing authority. However, the committee notes that Article 259, 1C, regarding taking into account youth representation has been adhered to. The committee, therefore, urges the appointment authority to take this into consideration whenever making appointments in future. Madam Speaker, the committee, after due and thorough consideration, analysis and evaluation of the written and oral submissions presented to it by the witnesses and the interviews with the nominees is of the view that all the nominees are suitably qualified and possess the requisite competence to serve in the positions to which they've been appointed. In view of this, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that this August House ratifies their appointment. Finally, Madam, the members of the committee wish to place on record their gratitude to you, Madam Speaker, for appointing them to serve on this select committee. This committee is also thankful to the services and advice rendered to it by the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly during its deliberations. The committee further wishes to thank the state security, the investigative agencies, professional bodies, and other stakeholders, institutions for their oral and written submissions, which assisted the committee in making an informed recommendation to the House. Madam Speaker, it is now my pleasure to call upon the House to ratify the appointments before. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC. Mr. Musa Mwenye, State Counsel, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Bwangambushi, and Dr. O'Brien Kava to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission Board, ACC, respectively. And Mr. Gilbert Adford Peary to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission. And Dr. Pamela Towela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, and Ms. Rora Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission, HRC, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd June 2022. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kasama Central.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you most sincerely for according me this opportunity to second this motion. I also thank the mover for competently moving the motion. The mover has adequately highlighted most of the notable points upon which your committee supports the ratification of the appointees. Madam Speaker, in seconding the motion, I wish to reiterate your committee's observation that all the nominees possess the requisite competence and experience to serve in their respective positions. Your committee, however, observed that the practice by the executive to publicly announce appointments before they have been ratified by the House had the potential to prejudice the ratification process and should be discouraged. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to extend my gratitude to the chairperson, Honorable Kangombe, of the committee for the adept, impartial, and just manner in which he presided over the meetings and deliberations to the committee. May I also extend my sincere gratitude to all the members of the committee for their objectivity, professionalism, and unity of purpose during the committee's deliberations. With these few remarks, I beg to second the motion. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honorable Whip, Opposition Whip.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving this opportunity to make some comments on the motion that has been moved by Honorable Kangombe to ratify the nominees to two critical institutions, being the Judicial Complaints Commission, the Anti-Corruption Commission, and the Human Rights Commission. Madam Speaker, we take note that the combination of these key institutions and lumping them together was convenient, but in terms going forward, we would like to have enough time to deal with these institutions and the nominees that are made to save these very critical institutions. Madam Speaker, indeed, the nominees have been described as eminently qualified and suitable for the appointments to these very critical institutions. I would like just to look at some of the observations your committee made. On page 36, your committee observes that the nominee, Dr. Henry Wangambushi, who has been nominated to go and serve at the board of the Anti-Corruption Commission, is qualified. But some of the witnesses that appeared before your committee expressed concerns regarding the committee, and I'll quote. The committee notes that some of the witnesses expressed concerns that the nominee was part of the UPND legal team. They were of a view that this was in conflict with paragraph 2 of the schedule to the Anti-Corruption Commission Act, which does not allow a person holding a position in a political party. But your committee, Madam Speaker, can the honorable new members, you can't be promoted
members,
like that.
Order. Order, honorable member, opposition whip, please speak through the chair and leave the responsibility of disciplining members. Because once you start exchanging, then it's going to end into something else. Honorable members, please, can we pay attention to the debate and also allow honorable members to debate? If you have any issue to raise, indicate. Time allowing, you'll be given an opportunity to also express your views through a debate. The Honorable Opposition Whip may continue.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, indeed, in as much as this has been clarified, it's a question of perception. Because these critical institutions, Madam Speaker, must be seen to be impartial in the way they'll be discharging their functions. So we don't want to leave some iota of doubt. So we expect that this nominee should make sure that they put their past, this nominee puts his past allegiance and ensure that they just focus on the institution they've gone to save. It's the same, Madam Speaker, with nominee on page 35, Mr. Chad Mleza, who has been equally nominated to go and save the Judicial Complaints Commission. The committee had witnesses who also expressed similar views. And it's important that when people are given this opportunity, and we know that obviously the executive have made up their minds on these nominees, but you make it clear to these nominees that they've got a nation to save. And the allegiances must not make them sway, should not sway them from discharging the functions to the expectations of Zambians. The other critical one, Madam Speaker, is our nominee to serve at the Anti-Corruption Commission. He too has been described as eminently qualified, but similar views have been shared. On page 7, you note that the nominee, of course, has relinquished his representation of the UPND party and its position to the Energy Regulation Board to avoid appearing in conflict. Yes, we appreciate, but we appeal to the incoming Director General to understand that he has got the country to save. And therefore, this familiarity, either with the appointing authority or indeed the party that is in ruling, must not compromise their stance, because this will leave public in doubt as to what will be happening at that institution. And we want to urge him that that institution, we have seen very vigorously dealing with issues of corruption, focusing on the past. The same vigor that is being done to the past cases should be the same vigor to the current cases that seems to appear in public as cases of corruption, such as soliciting for calendars. Here, where we are, this institution, Madam Speaker, through you, we are given the
Order, Honorable Opposition Whip. On what page is the calendar appearing?
Madam Speaker,
proceed.
Give me a chance, Madam Speaker. This institution, Madam Speaker, where we belong, through you, you give us calendars, different sizes, every year, with diaries. Therefore, there is no need for someone to go and solicit for calendars from a private company, which are written in Chinese.
Question. Order.
So the anti-corruption...
Order, Honorable Member. Order. In order for us to be efficient in terms of time, let's stick to the report. Let's not bring in extraneous issues. The Honorable Opposition Whip may proceed.
Well, Madam Speaker, my point is that this institution should pursue suspect corrupt activities, be it of the past and of the current, because it's very important. These institutions are created because we are all not angels. No one is angels. That's why these institutions are created, to make sure that people confine themselves to do their responsibilities within the confines of the law. So whether in the past or current, they should pursue these matters with the same vigor. That's what is expected of this very important institution. So, Madam Speaker, we reluctantly, Your Honorable Cabinet Minister.
Order. Honorable Member, proceed.
So, Madam Speaker, what I'm saying is that we don't want any cloud of doubt on these institutions as a result of some of these reservations that have been observed in your committee, because these institutions are pillars of justice, and justice should not only be done, must be seen to be done impartially. And so we, on this side, we know that the executive have made up their mind and decision, can only reluctantly, Madam Speaker, with these observations, reluctantly support your committee's report, because we are yet to see what is going to come out of these institutions. The JCC must be impartial as they deal with these matters. They should also cast out this issue of familiarity. We don't want the familiarity they have with the appointing authority to influence the way they will be discharging functions at the Judicial Complaints Commission. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for your allowing me to join the opposition whip in reluctantly supporting your select committee's report. Madam Speaker, allow me to appreciate my honorable colleague.
Honorable members, let's settle down and listen to the points that are being raised, so that when the members have completed their debate, you'll be able to respond sufficiently. May the Honorable Member for Lunte continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was just appreciating my honorable colleague Romeo Kangombe, MP for Sesheke constituency, for the manner in which he moved this motion, and also the honorable MP for Kasama Central who seconded this motion. Madam Speaker, to begin with, I would like to exemplify our sincerity in the manner we want to bring out issues. Yesterday, we supported the Minister of Justice's amendment to the Judges' Conditions of Service bill, because that amendment was good. This is not the first time this House is going to adopt a report where reservations have been raised about the nominees. And Madam Speaker, as I make my submission, I'll be able to demonstrate some of the things that have happened as a result of refusing to accept the wisdom of your committee and going ahead to appoint people who actually belong to political parties. Madam Speaker, Mr. Chadi Himonga Muleza is being appointed to the JCC. And your committee's report has expressed clear reservations that this is a member of the UPND legal team. Madam Speaker, members of the UPND have been appointed before. And we know what has happened to the DPP. We know what has happened to Milingolungu. And again, those people were appointed, like in this report, reservations were put clear. So this wisdom contained in your committee's report must be hid to avoid such issues as what happened to Milingolungu and the DPP, because obviously the embarrassment is not on this side of the House.
On a point of order.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Lunte, there is a point of order. The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of order pursuant to Standing Order number 65, relevance, and also having regard to the fact that the matters being alluded to when reference is made to Milingolungu and to the DPP are matters before court. Is it in order, Madam Speaker, for the Honorable Member for Lunte to make a debate which is sub judice and in any event not relevant to the subject matter? I stand to be guided, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. I had earlier guided that we should remain relevant and stick to the report of the committee. We should not bring in extraneous issues. So, Honorable Member for Lunte, as you debate, please be guided accordingly. Stick to the report and not to matters that are not before this House, and some of them are, in fact, before courts of law, because then we'll be going outside our mandate. Thank you. Honorable Member may continue, as guided.
Always treasuring the guidance of you, Madam Speaker, because it's not only motherly, but on point. Madam Speaker, Dr. Henry Waliambushi is being appointed to the board, the ACC board. He is a member of the UPND legal team. Madam Speaker, the board at the ACC is going to oversee the operations of the Anti-Corruption Commission, where Mr. Gilbert Anford Peary is being nominated to become the Director General, who has just relinquished membership of the UPND in order to avoid this problem we are talking about. Madam Speaker, if I relinquish my PF membership now, in order...
Order, honorable members. Let's allow the honorable member to debate.
Thank you for your protection, Madam Speaker. I'm just saying if I relinquished my PF membership now in order to become the Director General at ACC, Are those UPND members going to feel safe? If I'm a lawyer and I have prosecuted petitions of PF, many petitions of PF, like Gilbert has prosecuted my colleagues here, a lot of them, are they going to feel safe that this man will be impartial when it comes to issues pertaining to the Patriotic Front Party? This wisdom, Madam Speaker, this wisdom
Point
contains...
of order, Madam Speaker. Order, honorable members. Honorable member for Lunte, just take your seat briefly.
Thank you, Madam.
Honorable members, please. Please, honorable members on my right, can we listen to the debates that are being made and listen carefully from the left so that you'll be able to respond sufficiently? Now, if you are going to make noise, how are you going to listen to the debates?
It's misleading the masses. Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order on who?
On the one offering. The one who's offering.
May the honorable member for Lunte continue uninterrupted.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I feel free to speak now, that I will not be interrupted. So yes, I was just considering impartiality in terms of the nominee for the position of Director General. It is my sincere hope, Madam Speaker, that as he has relinquished his membership with the United Party for National Development, he will be able to discharge...
Those are just assumptions.
He will be able to discharge his duties with impartiality. He will not even consider some of the information he came across as he was prosecuting these colleagues of mine, the PF, against these UPND instigated petitions. Madam Speaker, it is very, very important that we maintain a country that is resourced in terms of these organizational arrangements in a manner that promotes independence of performance by these institutions, so that our people can receive fair treatment, and even our judges, as they are taken to the JCC, they can also be accorded treatment which is independent of influence from the executive arm of government. Let us quickly remember, Madam Speaker, that not long ago, 2 judges have been removed from offices. Very, very speedily. Very speedily, because of some of these, perceptions. Madam Speaker, I wish to submit my discourse.
Thank you. There is a point of order being raised by the Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business. What's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, I would like you to take judicial notice that you just guided that members should not be in a position to continue commenting on matters that are in court. The honorable member is aware that the matters pertaining to the 2 judges are in court. Hence, they are sub judice. Is in order to continue referring to matters that are in court, having guided.
The Honorable Member for Lunte is saying that he was not aware and he has apologized. So we give him the benefit of doubt. But Honorable Members, let's be serious. Sorry to use the word serious, but let's stick to the report. The matter that is before us is of very national importance, and it needs our strict attention as we are considering it. Honorable Member for Solwezi East, you have a point of order.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order pursuant to Standing Order number 65, Part B, which says that to ensure that the information he or she provides to the House is factual and verifiable. Madam Speaker, the honorable member debating is alleging that Mr. Gilbert Anford Piri is a member of the UPND who has just relinquished that position. Madam Speaker, the report that he's referring to, he has not read the whole paragraph. I asked the member to read the whole paragraph. Madam Speaker, let him provide the fact that Anford Piri is a member of the UPND. Has he got any fact, Madam Speaker? Thank you.
Order, order, honorable member. I think the honorable members have been guided accordingly. Let's stick to factual statements, and also let's not debate or touch on matters that are before honorable courts of law. And the honorable member for Sorez is in fact a member of this committee. So I thought maybe he will be the last one to say anything. Let's allow the other members who are not members, honorable members who are not members of the committee, to raise issues. Honorable member for Nalolo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I would like, first of all, from the onset, to thank the honorable member for Sesheke, and the seconder of the motion, the honorable member for Kasama. Madam Speaker, I would outrightly say that I support these appointments. However, I will give my comments freely. Madam Speaker, the appointees are competent, and that becomes one of the sufficient basis for one to fulfill their functions. I'll restrict my comments to the Anti-Corruption Commission. Madam Speaker, the report on page 36 has clearly linked some of these appointees to the ruling party. And as such, this is not the first time. And I must add that you will never find an appointment of a person without a political opinion. Everyone has a political opinion. But my concern, Madam Speaker, is that, you see, the fight against corruption in current has been a problem for successive governments. And now I would like to urge these appointees that they should not have challenges in fighting corruption in current. Because the fight against corruption cannot remain to be restricted in the past. And as such, their ties with the ruling party must not preclude their impartiality, Madam Speaker. And I do take note that I do know some of these appointees personally, and I know their capacity and capability to execute their duties. I restrain myself to the Anti-Corruption Commission because the links to the ruling party are both for members on the board and even at director level. That is a fundamental concern because the ugly face of corruption, Madam Speaker, has continued to deprive this country to the extremes. And Madam Speaker, that is why we will take a keen eye that matters of lifestyle audits, which some of the appointed appointees have talked about, must also be subjected to themselves as they take these positions. Because we have seen questionable lifestyle changes by previous office bearers of the SEC. And that is why investigations undertaken by the Anti-Corruption Commission in the past have been subjected to laughter, where you have situation of dues of amnesty, and you have cases, people being arrested without proper investigations. So, Madam Speaker, in supporting the report by your committee that these members are competent, we would like to plead with their conscience as they take up these offices that the practicability of the fight against corruption cannot be overemphasized. If there's ever a time that corruption must be fought, is now, when the country is in debt stress, when there's unemployment, the youth are unemployed. Therefore, as a representative of the good people of Nalolo, personally and as a member of parliament, we will not take lightly a laissez-faire approach by the ACC in the fight against corruption. The song of the people who were corrupt, they were corrupt. Let them now be arrested. And let them be arrested. Because the premise of change was based on the hope that there was a lot of theft. And as such, we were waiting for this momentous time to ratify these competent individuals, to take the mantle. So we are expecting, Madam Speaker, that all these people that we heard who took public office in the past, who were corrupt, were stealing, who were extorting public resources, we are waiting for them to be prosecuted, arrested, and we want these resources, if they are still there, to be returned to the rightful owners, the Zambian people. Madam Speaker, I speak here passionately because I see the poverty that is clear. It is as evident as daylight. And now, Madam Speaker, the narrative that corruption, corruption, corruption without convictions will not be accepted. And as such, the Anti-Corruption Commission has a gigantic task to pursue this agenda impartially, both past, present, and future. Madam Speaker, I submit and support the report and the appointment of the various office bearers.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lumezi.
Thank you so very kind, Madam Speaker, for permitting the good people of Lumezi to make their submissions on this report. Madam Speaker, just like the Honorable Member for Nalolo, I'll limit my submissions on the Anti-Corruption Commission. Madam Speaker, permit me to start with a quote from Kurt Cobain: "The duty of youth is to challenge corruption." Madam Speaker, permit me also to quote from the Russian President Vladimir Putin: "Those who fight corruption should be clean themselves." Madam Speaker, permit me also to quote from Karl Kraus: "Corruption is worse than prostitution. The latter may endanger the morals of an individual. The former invariably endangers the morals of the entire country." Madam Speaker, indeed, if we go to page 19 of the report, FODEP had expressed reservations on the Director General that we're about to ratify. Madam Speaker, as I go to Lumezi this afternoon, I'm going to inform the people that I've ratified a Director General whom I'm going to report to on the cancellation of hunting concessions in Lumezi on Wednesday. And it is the wish of Lumezi that that matter must be investigated, not after 5 years, not after 10 years. We do not evidence that will be destroyed because of having officers that wait for regime change to investigate matters. Madam Speaker, speaking through you, of course, the last Vice President, in his report on page 20, had said, as much as these people being appointed or ratified are perceived with political inclinations, once appointed into public office, one must maintain neutrality. Indeed, we cannot deny people an opportunity to save the Republic of Zambia based on their political affiliations, because at the end of it all, we are all Zambians. Equally, we cannot be firing people based on their political affiliations. Madam Speaker, we must preserve the culture of Zambia first. We have seen professionals being dismissed because of being affiliated to certain political organizations. In here, we speak because we are Zambians and not because of our political affiliations. Madam Speaker, in my submission to the incoming Director General and State Counsel Musa Mwenye, I must put it on record that what equally brings about corruption is an procedural way of summoning suspects. Madam Speaker, these organizations have a mandate to summon any one of us in this country. They've got the mandate to arrest, they've got the mandate to investigate, but they do not have the mandate to abduct a suspect. Madam Speaker, these officers will cause an alarm to potential suspect, and in the process, a suspect is notified to say, on this particular day, we are coming to arrest you from your house. This is also a breeding ground for corruption. Let the culture of calling suspects through call-outs be inculcated at ACC and any other relevant institutions with the mandate to curb corruption from within the institution. Madam Speaker, I make a passionate appeal because we have seen not once, not twice, people saying, I'm not aware that suspects are being transported using government vehicles to far-flung areas. Someone is summoned at Lusaka Central through the ACC and bundled in a van. On the way, people start bribing each other. I think the Director General, as I support your nomination, I must put it on record that I'm coming to the ACC on Tuesday next week when I come back from Lumezi, and I would want you to investigate the cancellation of hunting concessions in Chief Mwanya's area. I submit, Madam Speaker.
I just wanted to guide that let's stick to the report. Let's not bring other issues. Thank you very much for being efficient with your time also. Let's listen to another voice, the Honorable Member for Chawama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to state that I support this report, but before I support this report, I will also want to restrict myself to the ACC. The nomination of Gilbert Anford Peary. The concern there, Madam Speaker, is that he was a lawyer, and it's in public domain that he was a lawyer for the president for a very long time. He's also a lawyer who represented the UPND in the Chawama petition. He also represented the UPND in the Milanze case. And I want to simply advise, as we support this report, that he should be impartial. And these institutions are supposed to be independent. We also must manage the public perception, because it's not only about being independent, it's also about the public having confidence in the individuals. If the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission has been a long-term friend of the President, what confidence will we then have that he will serve with impartiality and also the professionalism that is required for this position? It simply means that the gentleman is conflicted. But as has been argued before, we cannot rule out.
Order, order, order. Order, honorable members, as we debate, let's allow her to debate, but honorable members, you debate. Let's stick to the issues that are in the report. I don't know on what page is the allegation that the appointee is a long-time friend of the president is appearing. So let's not bring in extraneous issues, but please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That was on page 19, but I take your guidance and want to simply say that the gentleman is conflicted, and we just want to make sure that he serves the Zambian people in the interest of the Zambian people as he goes into this position. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much. I hope you have not been intimidated by the noise. Please, let's allow, especially for ladies, let's allow them and give them time to express themselves. The Honorable Member for Feira.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also wish to just thank the Honorable Kangombe and his team for the report. And having said that, let me just also add on a few comments to what has already been said briefly. Madam Speaker, the independence of institutions of governance and independence of judicial organs is very important. And indeed, it is also important to ensure that the people or the agents that occupy these positions should be able to function in a manner that is adding value to these institutions. Madam Speaker, it has been brought out in the report that Honorable Henry Wanga Mbushi is actually a member of the UPND. And we are now talking about the fight against corruption. And we want that the fight against corruption should be independent. Clearly, I do not take this statement loosely, Madam Speaker. In my view, as said by other speakers, this is conflicting. And indeed, we cannot underestimate the personalities and what has happened. In case of Mr. Gilbert Piri, who is going to be the Director General, or who's been proposed, because, Madam Speaker, for me from the outset, actually I do not support this report. Because my proposal, even as I conclude, as I will be concluding, I will say that certain people, for the sake of the country, I think we should be able to choose between friends and the importance and value of the country. I do not think that.
Order.
Are you getting me, Madam Speaker?
Order. Order, Honorable Member for Feira. As the time is 10:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Well, thank you so much for being with us on Parliament Television. The House has been suspended for 20 minutes for that healthy break, and at the time business was interrupted for that break, the House was considering a report of the Parliamentary Select Committee, and it was Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, who is a member of Parliament, who was debating. So when business resumes, he'll continue debating.
Absolutely, and the House is looking at a motion that has been moved by Mr. Kangombe and seconded by Kasame MP Ms. Mwambada, the House to adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, Mr. Musa Mwenye, State Counsel, Ms. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Wangambushi, and Dr. Brian Kalaba to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission, respectively.
And Mr. Gilbert Anford Piri to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and Dr. Pamela Toela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Ms. Laura Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners to the Human Rights Commission, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly. It was laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd June 2022.
Just now we take a break. Join us after the break.
Terms of reference as provided for in the National Assembly Standing Orders number 198. The committee was tasked to scrutinize the Emolument Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2022. Madam, let me state from the outset that the Emolument Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2022 seeks to provide for a harmonized framework.
Ms. Emelda Munashabantu is Mapatizia Member of Parliament under United Party for National Development, UPND, in Southern Province. She is the chairperson of the Committee on Cabinet Affairs and vice chairperson of the Committee on Delegated Legislation. Ms. Munashabantu is a likable lady and is passionate about uplifting the lives of the people of Mapatizia.
I was born in Mapatizia. Yes, I was born there. My parents were teachers there. I went to school, my primary school. I went to Kabanga Primary School in Mapatizia. And then I went for secondary school at St. Mary's and Livingston, a family of 8.
She has always been a tough lady, owing it to the discipline her father instilled in her.
Well, it was fun growing up. My mother was not really like in the mainstream teaching, but she did, those days what we call domestic teaching, domestic home economics. Yeah. So my father is the one who was he was headmaster. He was deputy, then headmaster. We were brought up with very strict rules. My father was a disciplinarian. Yes, and as a result, I grew up into a very disciplined and very tough young lady. Even at an early age, I was involved in sports. I was doing high jump and very active in athletics as well. Well, and also my father made sure that I did my work, my school work, and I was also very good in class. Actually, I was one of the best pupils that time in our area.
Ms. Munashabantu is a mother of 5 children.
I've got children. Yes, I've got 3 boys and 2 girls.
It's interesting to learn that after completing her grade 12, she went to study electrical engineering, a male-dominated field.
After I finished grade 12, I went to do electrical at Nortec. I'm a technologist, electrical engineering. Then I further went to study abroad and also
Well, thank you so much for still staying with us on Parliament Television. The House is still on the 20 minutes healthy break, and I'd like to apologize for that freezing picture. That is due to the technical fault that we're experiencing here. Continue giving you the update on what has been considered on the floor of the House when business started at 09 hours, and at the time business was interrupted, the House was considering a report which was presented by the chairperson of the Parliamentary Select Committee, and this is Mr. Romeo Kangombe, urging the House to adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC, Mr. Musa Mwenye State Council, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Wangambushi, and Dr. Obrian Kaba to serve as a chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission Board, respectively.
Others are Mr. Gilbert Anford Peary to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and Dr. Pamela Towela Sambo, Reverend Colonel Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Ms. Laura Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on 22nd June 2022.
And at the time business was interrupted, it was Thera, Member of Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, who was debating. So when business resumes, he will continue debating. When business resumed at 9 hours, Madam Speaker did make two announcements. And the first announcement, she did acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of the following members of the Hard Work Committee of the Parliamentary Service Commission from the Parliament of Tanzania. And some of the names are Honorable Ambassador Obeni Sefue, Head of Delegation, Honorable Ludovic Utohi, Member, Honorable Richard Bede, Member, Honorable Japheth Segasia, Member, and other members included.
Honorable Agnes Mena, who's a member, Mr. Michael Kadebe, Secretariat, Ms. Trifona Mngongo, Secretariat, Mr. Emmanuel Panda, Secretariat, and Mr. Mukuta Masoli, Secretariat. And on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker did receive the distinguished guests and warmly welcomed them in our midst. And thereafter, Madam Speaker went on to make another announcement on the vote of motion urging government to amend the Constituency Development Fund guidelines.
And she did proceed by reminding the House that on Wednesday, 15th June 2022, the House took a vote on the motion moved by Honorable Member of Parliament for Chama North constituency, and this is Mr. Mutachalo, MP, urging the government to amend the Constituency Development Fund guidelines. The vote was conducted using the e-chamber system, and the following results were announced. According to that day, the ayes were 54, noes 79, abstention was 0, and in attendance, the total number of members of Parliament that were in attendance was 133.
And so the Madam Speaker did say the malfunction resulted from the back-end server hanging while the vote was in progress. The back-end server is what stores information that has been entered into the e-chamber system, and consequently, at the time of announcing the earlier results, there were votes that had been cast which were visible on the e-chamber application but had not been stored on the back-end server. And she did go on to say that when the server hung, those votes could not be stored. And this is what led actually to the reduction in the number of votes cast from 133, which displayed on her screen, and which she announced in the House, to the 116 recorded on the computer-generated voting details.
And she proceeded by informing the honourable members of Parliament that she had carefully considered this matter and considered that the result of the vote on the motion were erroneous, and she was persuaded to take the computer-generated results to be a near reflection of what, in fact, the result of the vote was. And she had given the benefit of doubt to the 18 honourable members who were recorded as present but did not vote, even assuming that all the 18 honorable members voted with the ayes on the motion, the noes would still have been in the majority, and the result of the vote would in fact remain the same. And she did inform the House that she did inform political leadership in the House that the findings, in view of this, she directed the clerk to amend the result of the vote in line with the computer-generated evidence as follows. The ayes are 45, the noes 70, and only one person abstained, and in attendance the total was 134. So that's the second announcement that Madam Speaker made earlier in the day.
And so after that announcement, Madam Speaker permitted the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development to make a ministerial statement. The Minister of Mines, Honorable Kabuse, made a ministerial statement on the measures that government is taking in creating a balance between economic activities and safety of the miners at the Slag Dump, or rather the Black Mountain. And we did see some members of parliament that indicated to speak, ask questions or points of clarifications to the Minister of Mines. That's basically what has been considered on the floor of the House so far. We still have much more right here on our Parliament television. But just about now, maybe we could take a little break, and we'll be back to look at the rest of the business for this morning. Good morning.
Well, thank you so much for still being with us on Parliament Television. We just look at what is yet to be considered on the floor of the House when business resumes after that 20 minutes healthy break. We do expect Brigadier General Sitwala, retired, a chairperson of committee, that he will present a report urging the House to adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 12th ordinary session of the plenary assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the member states of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, Nairobi, Kenya, which took place from 2nd to 6th April 2022, urging the House to adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 12th ordinary session of the plenary assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the member states of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, held in Nairobi, Kenya from 2nd to 6th April 2022 for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, and this document was laid on the table of the House on 16th June 2022.
We also expect Mr. Jatila, who is the chairperson of the Planning and Budgeting Committee, to move a motion urging the House to adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries, provinces, and spending agencies for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022.
So when these two chairpersons present these reports, they will be seconded, and later on members of parliament will be accorded an opportunity to debate. We do have the judges' conditions of service amendment bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2022, coming up at report stage. Yesterday it came at committee stage, and it was reported with it passed this stage with amendments. Let's look at what else has been considered on the floor of the House earlier in the day.
Absolutely. In case you've just tuned in, you're watching Parliament television. The House is on a break. Business resumes at 11 hours. I'm thinking of, the days that we have business at 14:30, but business resumes at 11 hours. And on the floor of the House was Feira, Member of Parliament, making a contribution to a motion that has been moved by Mr. Kangombe and seconded by Kasama MP Ms. Mwamba, that the House to adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe retired and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission JCC, Mr. Musa Mwenya, State Counsel, Ms. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Wanga Mbushi, and Dr. Brian Kaba to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission Board, respectively.
And Mr. Gilbert Anford Piri to serve as the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and Dr. Pamela Toela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Ms. Laura Mary Miti, and Ms. Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly. And this document was laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd of June 2022. And this motion was seconded by Kasama Central Member of Parliament, Ms. Siwongile Mwamba. And quite a number of members of Parliament have debated, and at the time business was interrupted, it was Farah Member of Parliament, Ms. Emmanuel Tembo, who was debating. So when business resumes, he will continue debating.
So just about now, we've got a minute to go before resumption of debate. We now leave you with pictures in the chamber as we await for the resumption of debate on the floor of the House. Good morning.
Madam Speaker.
When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Sesheke that this House do adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC, Mr. Musa Mwenya, State Counsel, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Bwangabumbushi, and Dr. O'Brien Kava to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, respectively, and Mr. Gilbert Adford Piri to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and Dr. Pamela Towela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Miss Laura Mary Miti, and Miss Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission, HRC, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd June 2022. And the Honorable Member for Feira was debating. May the Honorable Member continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was just emphasizing the importance of the independence of the various institutions of governance. Madam Speaker, the Judicial Complaints Commission is one institution that provides oversight on judges. And this institution must be 100% independent. It must enjoy independence, and the people that are in that commission must not be partisan. And indeed, as it has been brought out, I think that we have to be fair to ourselves and know that, for instance, Mr. Chad Muleza is indeed connected to the UPNB. And for me, I think that he will not play the role as we would like to be for the interest of the nation. Madam Speaker, let's not brush some of these important things aside. It is in the public domain that the Anti-Corruption Commission can be abused, and we would not like to see that situation. The President assured us that we should wait for the character and the nobility of the people that we appointed in the institution of governance. Madam Speaker, I must indicate that some of the names that I'm seeing are not impressive in view of what the assurance were given by the President. To that effect, I want to justify my position that I am unable to support this report. Madam Speaker, the Human Rights Commission, as we have even seen, there are a lot of human rights abuses. The recent one being how these soldiers, the catastrophe which they effected on the innocent children.
Order. Honorable Member for
Yes, Madam.
Feira, let's stick to the report of the committee. Let's not bring in extraneous issues. The issue of soldiers is not in the report. Proceed as guided. Proceed, Honorable Member, if you still want to debate. Are you still debating or you have done?
I'm still debating, Madam Speaker.
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, I wanted to emphasize the importance of the Human Rights Commission, because this commission ensures that human rights abuses are reduced to zero. And indeed, the people that are in the commission, they must bring out these abuses openly to the country without sitting down. And they must react to human rights abuses as they are reported immediately, unlike what we have seen in the last weeks. Madam Speaker, as I've said, the nominees who have been brought for consideration, in my view, are not partial. They're actually not independent. Madam Speaker, the danger which we have in allowing this or ratifying these nominations is that we are going to have a situation where the agenda for the country will not be perpetuated, and instead the agenda for the UPND will be perpetuated. And indeed, we cannot divorce the allegiance of these people from the ruling party. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I just want to urge my colleagues that let's look at these issues. We have said that people are being removed for being perceived PF, and we cannot replace with others that are also perceived to be UPND. Having said that, I appeal to my colleagues that as a country, as a legislature, let's look at the interests of the country rather than the interests of the individuals. At the end of the day, the Zambian people will be able to judge. I'm thankful and I submit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Luena.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the debate on the report of the Select Committee on the appointment of the nominees as outlined in the report, whose details I will not repeat. Madam Speaker, this report comes as music to many good-willed Zambians. Madam Speaker, it's not surprising that your members on the left, when they hear the name Gilbert Piri being proposed, nominated to take charge of the Anti-Corruption Commission, they quiver inside. For they know what kind of a man he is. Madam Speaker, for the first time in a long time, Zambians were actually looking forward to the ratification of the names that are before us this morning. For they felt that the ACC has for a long time been used as a laundering machine. Laundering machine in the sense that in the previous regime that institution was being so much abused. People were being taken to court just to go through the motions so that in future they can claim double jeopardy when the matters are raised again. Those circumstances, Madam Speaker, are now a thing of the past. Madam Speaker, the Anti-Corruption Commission was established at a time when the country had relatively few cases of corruption. And as a result, the arrangement which we have in the country where the Anti-Corruption Commission investigates, makes recommendations to the Director of Public Prosecutions for a decision on whether prosecution should go ahead or not, probably it might be time that that arrangement is revisited, given the scale and the scope of corruption in the country. Looking at the most recent trends report from the FIC, Madam Speaker, one can see that we are running behind the fight against corruption, for it has become so widespread. So I would like to propose, Madam Speaker, in supporting the appointment of the nominees, the ratification of the nominees before this House, that maybe a consideration be given to enable the Anti-Corruption Commission investigate and prosecute without reference to the DPP's office. Because the extent and the need to fight corruption speedily is becoming urgent, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the office of the Director General of ACC, the law requires that a person appointed to that office must be fit to be appointed as a judge of the High Court. I therefore feel that such responsibilities would be in order to give, even on a limited scale, that the ACC be able to proceed with prosecutions. I do understand that will require or can only be possible when there's an amendment of the Constitution. Therefore, I'm just putting it on the table in advance. Madam Speaker, talking about other members that are being proposed for appointment on the board as well as on the HRC. Madam Speaker, who doesn't know Musa Mwenye SC? Who doesn't know Laura Miti? If your members on the left, Madam Speaker, wanted justice, those are the people they would want to appear before. For they have one thing in common. They are fiercely independent-minded individuals. And the same goes for all the members that are being nominated, that are being proposed for ratification today. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this is a panel befitting of appointment as it is indicated in the report. But let me say something small on the issue of the Human Rights Commission. Madam Speaker, cases of human rights abuses have been increasing in the country. And year in, year out, people have called for a little bit of powers to be given to the Human Rights Commission, either to mete out some limited sanctions or to make recommendations that would be unignorable without having their recommendation set aside through a judicial process. I'm saying so, Madam Speaker, because the Human Rights Commission has in the past been reduced to
just issuing statements condemning a particular type of abuse, but that's as far as they can go. So maybe it's time we lifted the bar as far as the respect for human rights, that the Human Rights Commission be given some limited judicial powers in order to mete out some punishment. Madam Speaker, this government has already shown its desire to uphold human rights. It's for that reason that one of the things the government did through His Excellency the Republican President was to direct that compliance with the law in granting people bail when they are arrested, Madam Speaker, must be strictly observed. And today, we have many of our friends that have faced very serious cases, but who did not have to spend a night or even hours in jail. That's because of the new human rights culture that has dawned on the nation as a result of the new dawn, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Luena are familiar with the fact that the the Anti-Corruption Commission, going back to the ACC, is required not only to fight corruption where it rears its ugly head, but to also prevent and also advise, and that it's supposed to be a leading agency in the fight against corruption. We've noted that various initiatives have been undertaken in the past, including the formation of integrity committees in a number of state institutions, on which the Anti-Corruption Commission may be given a seat. But these structures are not part and parcel of those organizations' decision-making structures, which means that corrupt transactions can still be perpetuated by simply ignoring whatever those committees are recommending. Therefore, we would like to encourage that where the preventive measures are put in place in either a public or in any public body, that there must be recognition of that committee so that it plays a role in preventing corrupt transactions from actually going through, other than reporting them when they have gone through. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the people of Zambia would like to see a new ACC. They do not want an ACC that will fail to discover a person who owns 50+ houses when the records are there. And our colleagues who are opposing the adoption of this report know that this will not be the case under the directorship of Mr. Gilbert Perry. And Madam Speaker, with these few words, I would like to reiterate that we, the people of Luena, are in support of the ratification of the nominees proposed for ratification before this House this morning. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Bwana Mukubwa. Honorable Member for Bwana Mukubwa. If he's not there looking at the time, the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Madam, and to thank the committee for a job well done. Madam, this is a segment of our work where the doctrine of doing unto others as you wish them to do unto you comes into play, because the nominees that we are discussing here are not present to defend themselves. First, to thank all the people who contributed to this report, save for what I thought were slightly harsh comments from FERA. I take my hat completely off for Honorable Kampiongo, who reluctantly said he was supporting the report, because this is as it ought to be. Firstly, I want to pick just 3 of these nominees, because they are the ones who became a little prominent in the discourse. And this is Councillor Chad Muleza for the JCC nomination, Councillor Gilbert Piri, the nominee for the ACC, and I think the third one who was deemed to be a member of the UPND, Wanga, yes. Firstly, these appointments go to Zambians. It should be known as such. And only a dead person, and I mean dead for having been certified by a competent um, doctor, has no feelings about their surroundings. Gilbert Peary, an accomplished litigator from PNP, who has represented many people, many, countless, in this country, including leaders of current opposition political parties. Everyone has got a right for representation. In the last few years, madam, it was very, very scary, even for lawyers, to exercise their right to represent people that are under defense. It was dangerous. And it was a typical era where when the state is wrong, it was dangerous to be right. Gilbert Peary stood tall among many, many lawyers who, when it was very, 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 very frightening to represent anybody in trouble, he stood and represented those of us who were in trouble. Madam, I'll give you a clear example of how brave, how courageous Gilbert Peary is as an individual. It was here in this parliament when this MP brought in a motion before the speaker to impeach a sitting president. Among many lawyers that were there in this country, Gilbert was willing to say, I'm ready to represent you because we think you have a point why you must impeach the president. We did this without feelings of who the president was at that time. We looked at what we thought were the constitutional breaches. And when we presented them before Gilbert Peary, he said, I'll help you to run with this assignment. Doesn't make him UPND. Doesn't make him UPND. Anybody who represents another does not become an affiliate of that other. Because the argument here has been there are UPND lawyers. It was under the last regime that lawyers, the society was so divided that there were UPND teachers, PF teachers, UPND lawyers, PF lawyers. That is the way it was. Wouldn't it be surprising, Madam Speaker?
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Wouldn't it be surprising, Madam Speaker, if today,
On a
don't
point
you
of
think
order,
people would
Order,
think that the
Honorable
President...
Opposition Whip, you can't just stand. The Honorable Minister is standing. You are raising a point of order. No matter how strong you feel, it's better to wait when you are called upon. Order, Honorable Minister, there is a point of order. The Honorable Opposition Whip, what's the point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and my apologies if I remain standing. Madam Speaker, we have got a report from your committee. Very clear. That's what I was speaking to. Maybe you are not listening, Honorable Minister, Youth and Sport. I was quoting everything I debated from the report. And you have guided, Madam Speaker. Maybe
you are talking about...
Order, order. How many people are talking? How many have the floor? Let's have some order. Allow the Honorable to make his point and you'll be given a response.
Madam Speaker, you have guided, even during this session, that we all stick to the report. Even when people are veering off from the report, you kept guiding. And I urge honorable colleagues to pay attention to these reports. They are very important. We shouldn't speak from nowhere. We follow the reports as they are tendered on the floor. Is the honorable minister in order to ignore the report and start making his own submissions against your guidance, Madam Speaker? I seek your serious ruling.
Oh, the honorable members, as we debate, we are going to give examples, but let's not go too much outside the report. Let's make the examples precise in order to justify our point, but not to bring matters that are completely outside the report. Then we will not complete this work. The honorable minister may proceed, but honorable ministers, you give examples, please be precise in relation to the report.
Madam, thank you very much. I just want to be reminded by the submissions that came, for instance, from the MP for Chalma, who went deep by saying Mr. Gilbert Piri is a friend of the president. And I'm trying to separate the two. That if I'm in trouble and I go and hire, as an example, Kampiongo and Company to represent me, it doesn't mean that Mr. Kampiongo is my friend. It means I am entitled to legal representation. And I'm trying to say that in the midst of high adversity, this is a gentleman, Gilbert Piri, who stood and responded to society needs for people to be represented. And therefore, he should not be labeled to be a UPND lawyer, because there's nothing like a UPND lawyer. He's a lawyer from PNP, who any citizen has got a right to walk and knock and say, I am in trouble, I need representation. Mr. Piri is on record as having been the defender for Dr. Chimbakambwili, who's my brother-in-law. Dr. Chimbakambwili is a member of the opposition. As a matter of fact, a member of Patriotic Front, a founder of Patriotic Front. So where is the argument here that Gilbert Piri is a biased person who may compromise the office of the ACC? I'm trying to water down that argument, Madam Speaker, which is trying to put Gilbert Piri on the wrong side of the judgment. Mr. Gilbert Piri represented the current president in a treason, a frivolous, vexatious treason case. Everybody knew, even a 5-year-old child knew there's no treason here. All the lawyers in the country were trembling. They were scared to represent. Gilbert stood tall among all these professional lawyers who were scared to seek justice. What more can you ask for from an individual who has been identified for his excellent performance in the legal fraternity? What more can you ask for? Let's go to Chad Mleza, because my time is limited. Chad is a lawyer of many years of experience. When I was a little boy and I went to University of Zambia in 1984, Chad had been long gone from the university, had been admitted to the bar, had served. Chad, as a matter of fact, I cannot even go round and round. He was one of the founders of UPND under Anderson Mazoka. He was our provincial chairman for Copperbelt. But Chad hung his boots. He retired from active politics and pursued a legal career, which he's still doing now. So honestly speaking, should it be an offense to belong? What happened to the right and freedom of association? The plant that Chad, the seed he sowed back in the year when Mr. Mazoka was still alive, it bore fruit this year, 23 years later. So why wouldn't anyone think, okay, let's stand back and look at those who helped in the foundation of our party? And in any case, these are watchdog institutions. The JCC is there to make sure that the wheels of justice in the judiciary are spinning well. So where would anyone be a little bit uncomfortable about a person above 60 years old, honestly, who wants to save a country, as Chad Mleza has been identified? I want to render some little advice to ourselves. With this rich biography of these nominees, please be rest assured that the fear of retribution, which is what most of the submissions Where Lestu is here to say, how will it be partial? It's a thing of the past. Vyakale. It went with PF. There's no retribution whatsoever that you will experience under the leadership of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and his team. And we are going to rely on the principle of assumption of innocence until one is proved guilty in the case of the ACC. Anybody here can be summoned to ACC. It will be up to you to go and clean yourself there in answering the allegations or charges. So please be settled. Member of Parliament for Fera, just come on board. You are the only one despising this report. Everyone else, reluctantly or otherwise, they support the report. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Justice to respond on behalf of government.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. May I begin by thanking the honorable members that have debated the motion on the floor of the House, the Honorable Opposition Whip, Member of Parliament for Lunte, Member of Parliament for Nalolo, Lumezi, Chawama, Fera, Luena, and finally Mazabuka Central, the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. I'm very grateful for their contribution to the motion on the floor of the House. Indeed, I couldn't have put it better myself than the Honorable Member for Mazabuka Central put it, literally taking most of the words out of my mouth. Madam Speaker, allow me also to commend the work of the Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointments that are under consideration this morning. Madam Speaker, the respective presidential appointments have been made by taking into account Article 259 of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, and further, the requisite qualifications of each individual nominee. Madam Speaker, the House will also note that a significant effort has been made to ensure that the appointments not only reflect the diversity, the regional diversity of the people of Zambia, but also take into account persons with disabilities and gender to the extent possible. Madam Speaker, on behalf of His Excellency the President, I have taken note of the committee's observations with regard to the nominations and appointments of more youths in public offices. You will note, Madam Speaker, the presidential appointment took into account, as I have already mentioned, the earlier factors alluded to, but certainly there is room for consideration of a more youthful reflection of the people of Zambia. In this regard, the appointing authority, Madam Speaker, will endeavor to ensure that future appointments will take into account the appointment of more women, youths, and persons with disabilities. Turning to some of the matters that have been put forward in the debate on the floor of the House this morning, Madam Speaker, I wish to begin by once again bringing to the attention of the honorable members that have previously debated the need for a holistic reading of reports that are before this honorable House for consideration. The tendency, Madam Speaker, which is quite negative, has been to pick specific words from the report and leave out others which contextualize what those making the report meant to put forward. For instance, it has been suggested that it was a finding of the committee that some of the nominees, in particular Mr. Muleza and the nominee, Dr. Henry Mbushi, and indeed others, were members of the UPND legal team. That is far from the truth, Madam Speaker, as the drafters of the report made it clear in their own findings that this was not an issue affecting their determination of whether or not the individuals should be ratified. To quote Madam Speaker, in particular at page 35, the committee had this to say in relation to the nominee, Mr. Chad Muleza, and I quote, "Some witnesses expressed concern that the nominee was part of the UPND legal team," full stop. The committee, however, observes that this does not disqualify the nominee from appointment because his relationship with the party was a professional one based on the client and legal practitioner relationship. Full stop. The committee is therefore satisfied that the nominee's credentials and with the nominee's credentials and supports his ratification as a member of the JCC. Madam Speaker, that is an apt example that clearly puts forward what the committee found, which is that the relationships referred to were professional. We cannot be vilified, Madam Speaker, for choosing to represent certain clients. That is not the way that professional relationships operate. In fact, as legal practitioners, we are required by law to distinguish ourselves, to separate ourselves from the issues of our clients. That is a requirement. And so it is not correct to suggest that by deciding to represent the UPND and persons sympathetic to the UPND, that makes these nominees to be members of the UPND. In fact, Madam Speaker, there is no such thing as the UPND legal team other than elected officials that went to the convention and were then appointed as members of the legal committee. The rest are professional persons that provide services. Let the people of Zambia take heed accordingly and not be swayed by arguments based on partial reading of the report. Madam Speaker, aside from that, to further allay any fears of the people of Zambia as to the question of independence and impartiality on the part of these individuals, I wish to state that these individuals, in keeping with their professional standing and requirement, have previously represented various individuals. In other words, in the exercise of their functions and their offices, they do not look at faces or persons. They look at only the law and the facts and the evidence. This is clear from the fact that Mr. Piri, for example, has previously represented persons who are now prominent in the opposition, the likes of Mr. Geoffrey Bwaliamwamba, the likes of Mr. Chimba Kambwili, have been defended. So if we take the argument that there will be impartiality, it cannot apply because we do not look at faces. In the same way, Mr. Piri has prosecuted our very own minister, Sylvia Masewa, in his past life. Where does that place him? It simply places him as an individual that looks at the law and the facts and not at other persons' faces. So the people of Zambia can rest assured that these individuals who have shown character in the execution of their daily functions and duties as legal practitioners and other professionals have been chosen only for one reason: love for Mother Zambia. Everything else is merit-based, and there is no question of their qualifications before this Honorable House. Therefore, there can be no reason why anybody should doubt that they are worthy of ratification before this Honorable House. In this regard, as I conclude my debate, I wish to state that the motion is one that ought to be properly supported by all members of this Honorable House, and pray that the individuals put forward for appointment in the various roles be ratified by this august House. They are only but deserving Zambians with a track record of proper service. That should be the basis upon which they can be allowed to continue serving Mother Zambia with the interest only of the people at heart. I beg to submit, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Sesheke, wind-up debate.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much, all members that have ably debated this motion. And thank you so much to Honorable Kampyongo, who have willfully supported this motion. Thank you so much even to other members that haven't debated but are also in support of this motion. Madam Speaker, I'm very happy and pleased to have been given this task to chair your committee in ensuring that together we harness and gather very important information that this House do so need much as to ratify these people that are before us. Madam Speaker, like all members have spoken, I would pick the words of Honorable Minister Gary Nkombo and Honorable Minister of Justice, that these members are but deserving, well-qualified members that have got a track record, Madam Speaker, of executing their duties in line and in accordance with the law. Madam Speaker, I wish to render my thankfulness as well to your clerk once again, the office of the clerk, as well as yourself, for according us this very important opportunity together with my committee. And the seconder of the motion, Madam Speaker, I wish to sincerely ask this House to ratify the names that are before it. I submit.
I put the question. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Judge Priska Matimba Nyambe, retired, and Mr. Chad Himonga Muleza to serve as members of the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC.
We are voting.
Mr. Musa Mwenye, SC, Mrs. Irene Musonda Chongolamba, Dr. Henry Wangambushi, and Dr. O'Brien Kava to serve as chairperson and members of the Anti-Corruption Commission Board, ACC, respectively, and Mr. Gilbert Adford Piri to serve as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and Dr. Pamela Towela Sambo, Reverend Canon Emmanuel Yona Chikoya, Mr. Tom Trevor Shamakamba, Miss Laura Mary Miti, and Miss Christine Chama to serve as Vice Chairperson and Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission, HRC, respectively, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 22nd June, 2022. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Notes of motion. The Honorable Member for Kaoma Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House do adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 12th Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region held in Nairobi, Kenya, from 2nd to 6th April 2022, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Momba. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 12th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region, FPICGLR, held in Nairobi, Kenya, from 2nd to 6th April 2022 for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Kaoma Central.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 146 of the National Assembly Standing Orders 2021, I stand to give a statement on the proceedings of the 12th Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region held in Nairobi, Kenya from 2nd to 6th April 2022. Madam Speaker, this delegation of 9 members was led to the conference in Kenya by no other than you, the Right Honorable Nelly Moti, Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia. Madam Speaker, for the information of the House, the Forum for the Parliaments of the Great Lakes region was established on 4th December 2008 in Kigali, Republic of Rwanda, with the purpose of promoting, keeping, and reinforcing peace and security in the Great Lakes region, as expressed by the heads of state and government in the Security, Stability, and Development Pact of the Great Lakes region, which was signed on 15th December 2006 in Nairobi, Republic of Kenya. And this came into effect or into force on 21st June 2008. The Speakers of Parliament of the Member States of the Great Lakes region, mandated by their respective parliaments, stressed the point that democratically elected parliaments could play a major role in the promotion of peace, security, stability, mutual understanding, and friendship among the African people, as well as solidarity, brotherhood, and good neighborliness among the states of the region. Therefore, the major role of the forum is to make parliamentary contribution to peace by putting in place mechanisms for better implementation of the pact, protocols, and programs of action outlined in the pact. Madam Speaker, the forum comprises 12 member states, namely Angola, the Republic of Burundi, Central African Republic, Republic of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Republic of Kenya, Republic of Rwanda, the Republic of South Sudan, and the Republic of Sudan. Also included are the United Republic of Tanzania, the Republic of Uganda, and indeed
the Republic of Zambia. Madam Speaker, the theme for this year's plenary assembly was the role of parliaments in conflict resolution. Since its inception, the forum has been instrumental in spearheading discourse on peace, security, and stability in the region, which has over the years witnessed a number of blood wars, starvation, economic and social inequalities, as well as religious strife and political turmoil. Madam Speaker, the conference was officially opened by Dr. Freddy Matiang'i, Minister of Interior and Government Coordination, on behalf of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya. In his address, the President stated that the Assembly had the task of providing the 12 nations with comprehensive and achievable roadmap to parliaments, contributing more towards conflict resolution, which he said would only be achieved in the 12th plenary assembly, and made if the 12th plenary assembly was made into a questioning conference. In that regard, he proposed a 5-point questioning framework for the conference as follows. 1. Is the role of Parliament preventive or responsive after the fact? 2. When Parliament intervenes, at what stage is the conflict cycle, in the conflict cycle, should it intervene and how should it intervene? 3. Alive to the Latima House principles, how should Parliament's intervention role be exercised within the context of the rule of law and the separation of powers and its roles? 4. What collective and peer review mechanisms can parliaments in the region adopt to both support each other and also hold each other accountable? And lastly, how do we inculcate public participation by citizens, bringing in civil society, international partners, and regional, continental, global associations, and built-in shared bonds into the conflict prevention and conflict resolution framework? The 5 days of the conference were a learning experience for all member states. Members were fully appraised on governance issues in the region. The threats and the impacts of insecurity were clearly elucidated, which enhanced the members' appreciation of the situation in the region. The conference received a presentation by Professor Olum, a PhD holder, on the role of parliaments in conflict resolution, which revealed that parliaments have a fundamental role of preempting and preventing conflict by upholding the rule of law, addressing post-conflict recovery, and engaging in constructive partnerships and cooperation and reconciliation. Member states appreciated the forum's initiative and the efforts in undertaking fact-finding missions which assisted countries such as the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Republic of Sudan in finding amicable solutions and peaceful settlement to political instability in those countries. The forum looks forward to future engagements with the parties involved with a view to addressing outstanding issues for lasting peace in the region. The forum pledged support to efforts towards resolving the conflict in South Sudan. The forum also resolved that parliaments must be more assertive in addressing the root cause of instability. At the close of the 5 days, the conference adopted the Nairobi Declaration, which, among other matters, resolved to employ strategies to jumpstart economies in the post-COVID-19 era and enhance the parliaments in conflict resolution in the Great Lakes region. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Zambia delegation to the 12th ordinary session of the plenary assembly of the Forum of the Parliaments of the Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region, FPICGLR, held in Nairobi, Kenya, from 2nd to 6th April 2022, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to second this important motion, and also just to thank the mover of the motion for the way he has tabled the matter. Madam Speaker, before I start, I need to put this on the record that, Madam Speaker, this is a historical report in the sense that, if I'm not wrong, this is the first time such a report is coming into Parliament from a delegation to an international organization meeting. So it is quite important, and I know that this was as a result of the members here who wanted to at least be appraised on some of these reports we undertake outside the country. So for that, Madam Speaker, I'm very grateful. Madam Speaker, I will not take long. I will just look at a few issues. First and foremost is to look at the objectives or the goals of this forum. The first goal is to serve as a framework for dialogue and also for experience sharing, and also to look at the issues of conflict resolutions for these member states. Now, a question may arise to say, why is Zambia part of this when seemingly we are so peaceful? Madam Speaker, it's important to bring to the attention of members, I know they know, that Zambia is hosting quite a number of refugees from these countries who now are at conflict with each other or internally. The second one, Madam Speaker, is to also to build the capacity of the members of Parliament of these member countries of this ICGR, as it is commonly referred to. And also even this extends to the civil servants of these member states. The third one, Madam Speaker, but not the least, also we contribute to the United Nations resolutions in respect to the protection of the rights of women, children, and those people who are vulnerable. Madam Speaker, to attain these objectives and for the effective achievement of the same objectives, Madam Speaker, we have a five-theme situation in terms of the committees that which are represented to look at how well then can we achieve some of these goals. And these, Madam Speaker, are also represented by the members of Parliament. So each theme has also a member of Parliament who represents on the permanent basis in terms of the committees. So in the case of Zambia, Zambia has also 5 members of Parliament who are a committee, members to the ICGR, and I'll be able to mention later on. But just to indicate the themes, the first one is to do with peace and security. And the second one is democracy and good governance. The third one is humanitarian and social issues. Then the fourth one, Madam Speaker, is economic development, natural resources, and regional integration. And the last one, Madam Speaker, is to do with the gender, children, and vulnerable persons issues, Madam Speaker. Now, in terms of the Zambian Parliament currently, the members to these committees as follows, Madam Speaker. The first one is Brigadier General M. Stwala, MP, who just moved the motion, and is the executive committee member and a member of the Committee on Peace and Security. Then the second one is Mr. F.C. Jatila, standing here, Madam Speaker, who is a member of the Committee on Economic Development, Natural Resources, and Regional Integration. The third one is Ms. S.K. Sefulo, MP, who is a member of the Committee on Democracy and Good Governance. Then the fourth one is Ms. M. Pili. I want to believe this is Melissa Pili, who is the member of the Gender, Children, and the Vulnerable Persons. The fifth one, Madam Speaker, is Mr. A. Kasanwe. This is Mr. Anthony Kasanwe, MP, who is a member of the Committee on Humanitarian and Social Issues. Madam Speaker, during the delegation, our own Madam Speaker gave a statement on the leaders' statements. Various representations from the various member states were giving their statements. And among the issues, our own Madam Speaker did represent one. She thanked the other members of this ICGR for being part of the August 2021 general elections. They came here as observers, and we are grateful for that. Then also, the Secretary General of the ICGR was here in the country around November 2021, and Honourable Madam Speaker thanked him for coming through to Zambia to pay a score on Madam Speaker, and also to meet the committee members who I just mentioned, Madam Speaker. And then the other one is that this ICGR, the member states, for this forum to function, each member state or each parliament does contribute. So in terms of funding, the funding comes from the member parliaments. And we were very proud that, Madam Speaker, Zambia is one of the nations or the countries that is up to date in terms of the payments or subscriptions. And we are proud of that. And last but not the least, Madam Speaker also offered to host the ordinary plenary session, which is coming in 2024, all things being equal. She offered to host other countries here in Zambia, to which we are most grateful. Madam Speaker, with these few remarks, I beg to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Acting Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to appreciate the mover of the motion and the seconder to this very important procedural motion. As government, we have taken note of the content of the report. We'll study it and make necessary responses to it at an appropriate time. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kaoma Central, winding up debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think I only remain with a simple task to thank the Honorable Minister of Internal Affairs for acknowledging our report. I just want to also urge the honorable members of this House to take in interest in what is happening in our region. I think, like the seconder said, it's very important that as Parliament we know what is happening. Zambia indeed gets affected. We are surrounded by most countries who are in conflict. From independence, we have been an oasis of peace, which we should not take for granted. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I just want to thank you once again, and thank you.
I put the question. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 12th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region, FPICJR, held in Nairobi, Kenya, from 2nd to 6th April 2022, for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Notice of motion. The Honorable Member for Momba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Chama South. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries, provinces, and spending agencies for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, the Planning and Budgeting Committee reviewed the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries, provinces, and spending agencies. The committee also interacted with the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, the Bank of Zambia, and the Zambia Revenue Authority. Madam, the House will recall that the 2022 budget, which is themed growth, jobs, and taking development closer to the people, is anchored on economic transformation and improving the livelihoods of the people of Zambia. Madam Speaker, let me remind the House that the macroeconomic framework for Zambia in 2022 was set to attain a real GDP growth rate of at least 3.5%, narrow the fiscal deficit to 6.7% of gross domestic product, increase domestic revenues to not less than 21% of gross domestic product, and to sustain the inflation within the range of 6 to 8%. Also reduce domestic borrowing to 5.2% of gross domestic product, and limit international reserves to at least 3 months of import cover. Madam Speaker, the 2022 budget has been met with challenging domestic and external environments. Since the 2022 budget addressed in October 2021, the economic outlook remains positive but uncertain. This is due to the challenges such as high debt levels and the slow economic recovery occasioned by the lingering risks associated with COVID-19 or resurgence, and the impact of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. These challenges, Madam Speaker, continue to negatively affect some key sectors of the economy. Madam Speaker, allow me to state that the general picture of the performance of most key economic indicators in the first quarter was impressive. Particularly, the government exhibited fiscal discipline as both revenue and expenditure outturns were broadly in line with the targets for the quarter. Unlike the perpetual trend of the poor releases observed in the past, the committee is pleased to report to the House that the government released 100% of what was targeted for to ministries, provinces, and spending agencies in the period under review, Madam Speaker. Madam, allow me at this juncture to share some key highlights of the committee's findings and recommendations arising from the review of the performance of the first quarter of the 2022 budget. Number one, fast-track implementation of programs under the Consequence Development Fund. Madam Speaker, the committee expresses great concern at the underperformance of program outputs under the local governance and rural development programs in the period under review. This is despite the release of central government of funds under the Consequence Development Fund during the quarter, Madam Speaker. The committee is dismayed that structural challenges and other administrative processes are proving to be the major hindrance in the utilization of the resources. In light of this, Madam Speaker, the committee strongly recommends that the government should, as a matter of urgency, fast-track the implementation of projects in all consequences if meaningful development is to be realized, especially in rural areas. Unlike the current status, the committee urges the government to authorize provincial local government officers to approve CDF projects within a specified threshold in order to expedite project implementation. Number two, Madam Speaker, expedite the procurement process. Madam Speaker, despite some of the delays in funding to the few ministries, provinces, and spending agencies, especially for the month of March, all the institutions received funding in line with funding profiles. However, other than the delays in funding, the committee observes with great concern the amount of unspent funds, which are largely as a result of procurement challenges, including limitations of the Zambia Procurement Price Index. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the committee strongly urges the government to, as a matter of urgency, address gaps in staffing levels, especially for procurement officers, in order to fast-track the implementation of the programs. Given the rise in prices, the committee further recommends that mechanisms must be devised to remove the bottlenecks being experienced by MPSAs in the procurement of goods whose prices are outside the price index. Number three, Madam Speaker, enhancement of collection of non-tax revenue. Finally, Madam Speaker, despite having met the revenue target for the period under review, the committee expresses concern at the poor performance of non-tax revenue, which currently is standing at 13.5% below the target. The underperformance of the non-tax revenue is a source of concern for the committee, as it is likely to affect the budget performance and the credibility if robust corresponding measures are not implemented. In light of this, Madam Speaker, the committee strongly recommends that the government should implement and intensify measures to build capacity in collecting agencies in order to boost non-tax revenues. In conclusion, Madam, I wish to place on the record sincere appreciation to the stakeholders who provided information to the committee. Gratitude is also extended to the Office of the Clerk for the support rendered during the committee. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries, provinces, and spending agencies for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget. As stated by the mover of the motion, the performance of the budget in the first quarter was generally impressive. Revenue targets were met, and overall expenditure was as projected. Madam Speaker, this is a commendable intervention by the government, I'm sure all honorable members here can agree that for the first time, your committees traveled, meaning budget credibility is on target. Despite meeting the positive performance, the committee made some observations which, if not addressed, may affect the program implementation. Madam Speaker, to enhance all sources of tax revenue, despite the quota revenue target having been met, the committee observed that the value-added tax VAT, customs and excise duty underperformed in the first quarter of the year. This underperformance, Madam Speaker, raises concern, especially in view of many tax concessions contained in the 2022 budget, which will have an effect on revenue. Probably, Madam Speaker, on this, as a committee, we are urging the executive to ensure that, if possible, certain tax concessions can be reviewed. We observed, Madam Speaker, that in spite of putting certain tax concessions in the proposed 2022 national budget with the aim of encouraging production, some certain sectors of the economy, like the mining sector, the production seems to be less than what is being projected. In this regard, the committee strongly recommends that the government must strive to ensure that tax revenue is enhanced, including ensuring that targets are met by all sources of tax revenue in order to adequately achieve a positive performance outcome. 2, timely reconciliation of external figures. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance National Planning reported to the committee that the figures for the current stock of external debt for the period between September 2021 and end of first quarter of 2022 was not available due to the reconciliation exercise being undertaken. The ministry indicated that the debt figure would be published before the end of the second quarter of 2022. Madam Speaker, the committee therefore contends that this state of affairs reflects lack of transparency on the part of the government of matters of debt reconstruction and obligation. In this regard, the committee strongly urges the government to expedite the presentation to Parliament for repeal of the Loans and Guarantees Authorization Act. This act, Madam Speaker, will ensure that transparency is upheld in the debt contraction and mandate Parliament to scrutinize public debt before contraction, pursuant to Article 207 of the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act Number 2 of 2016. Madam Speaker, the committee further recommends that the government should provide up-to-date external debt stock without further delay. Limit, item number 3, Madam Speaker, limit government borrowing from the private sector. Madam Speaker, the increased stock of government securities recorded in the first quarter is a matter that needs intervention. Otherwise, if not mitigated, it has the potential to crowd out the private sector and eventually limit private sector investment. Madam Speaker, your committee is concerned on this one. We are in a liberalized economy, and if the government overcrowds the private sector when it comes to borrowing issuance of these government securities, as you be aware, Madam Speaker, government securities are usually the safest mode of investment, and it attracts many of these private investors because, one, it is secure, two, it has that guarantee that the government will never default in most cases. This crowds out most of the private individuals who would want, including firms, who would want to borrow from the commercial banks, and it tends to drive interest rates upwards, and this affects investment in our country. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the committee strongly recommends that, where possible, government should desist from borrowing from the local market in order to promote private sector expenditure and investment. With these very few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Sikongo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity granted to the good people of Congo to add a voice to the motion on the floor of this House in support of the report by a committee on the performance of the 2022 budget, the first quarter. Madam Speaker, from the onset, may I point out that I do support this report wholeheartedly, and I would like to congratulate your committee, the chairman, as well as the seconder of the motion, for the able manner in which they have presented the report. Madam Speaker, I'm very happy to note that the New Dawn administration, right from the onset, has demonstrated that it is here to deliver to the people of this country. I therefore totally agree with your committee's report in their conclusion as they point out that the performance of the first quarter 2022 budget has been satisfactory. However, Madam Speaker, personally, I'll go ahead and say that the performance has been more than satisfactory, in the sense that much as the report speaks to a number of macroeconomic fundamentals, but there are certain other areas that were not brought out into the report due to the focus of the report. Madam Speaker, the first quarter of 2022 saw a number of good things happening in this country, such as the pronouncements on the recruitment of the 30,000 teachers, the recruitment of the 11,200 health workers, pronouncements which we are now seeing becoming to actualization. We also saw the payment of retirees. We also saw the payment of those farmers who had sold fertilizer to the FRA. We saw payment of the monies to people who were not paid arrears, that Tazara workers. We also payment of monies to local authorities. And on top of this, we saw the payment of monies towards the CDF, the enhanced CDF, from 1.6 million to 25.7 million kwacha, which was, of course, in itself unprecedented. Madam Speaker, therefore, for a government that has inherited a near-collapsed economy, to be able to perform so well within the first quarter, I feel it is something that should be commended by everyone of us here. And also, of course, as we give commendation to the UPND New Dawn government, I think we should also give more commendation to the head of state for the bold step or steps that he is taking to ensure that this country is back, or is supposed to be back on track, performing for its citizens. Madam Speaker, I would quickly point out that the Zambian people should be comforted and should be very happy to have the kind of leadership that we have under the New Dawn administration. This is a leadership that wants to anchor the development of this country, not only in one region, but across the board, across the four corners of this country. And I therefore want to urge all the members of parliament here present that can we give this government the support that it deserves, because it means well for Mother Zambia. When we talk about some of the macroeconomic fundamentals like inflation, we have seen inflation dropping from 16.4% December last year to now almost 10.2% I think this is a positive indication itself that our economy is on the right track. Exchange rate is also improving. The kwacha is gaining value. We are also seeing improvement in domestic revenue collections. But of course, I know we still need to do much in this sector, especially where toll fees are concerned. Much as we talk about domestic revenue collection, it is anchored, of course, in getting fees from citizens. But I think as a government, a new Dawn administration, I would urge that we need to balance between revenue collection from our people and also giving them a breathing space. There is still room for us to be able to get more revenue from domestic revenue, from the non-tax revenues, if we bring in efficiency, transparency, and accountability. There are several measures that are being proposed in the report, which I feel the executive should seriously look into in order to improve revenue base for our economy. Madam Speaker, the CDF is a very important vehicle that we should use as a country to develop our economy, especially those of us coming from rural constituencies. We have an opportunity to now solve most of the problems that have been a major challenge in the past due to the limited amounts that were being given to us under the CDF. So I would urge all members of parliament that instead of complaining, looking at the structural and administrative challenges and use these as hindrances for us to achieve the main objective of the CDF, let's try to find means and ways of working around these issues so that we deliver the objectives of the CDF, which is to bring about enhanced development and the accelerated development for our constituencies. Madam Speaker, with these few words, I would like to end by saying the people of Congo are happy so far with the performance of the New Dawn administration as amplified by your committee in their report. And therefore, the people of Congo stand here to support the motion to adopt the report of your committee in as far as the performance of the first quarter 2022 budget is concerned. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chiluvi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the first place, the people of Chiluvi would like to support this very important, especially that as it deals with our economy. For economics, there's no partisan, really. It's a meeting point for everybody. And I think as we debate economics, we should not race it with a partisan approach to it, because there are no separate shops and separate economic centers for different people belonging to different political parties. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I want to bring to your attention that the window of revenue correction, which is tabulated between pages 6 to 12, where the different government ministries and government agencies correct revenue, is a matter of concern for people of Chiluvi, especially that such is subjected to red tape sometimes. Apart from it being subjected to red tape, it makes the economy suffer hemorrhage in some way. And what the people of Chiluvi mean, Madam Speaker, in that line is that government, using this particular window, people of Chiluvi believe that they can collect more. If you look at all those tabulated revenue windows that government is supposed to utilize, we would be talking about going beyond the target that we can speak about. Madam Speaker, allow me also to address myself to the issue of absorption capacity of the funds that have been released, especially under the CDF. I know that it sounds like a complaint when people want to talk about the CDF and the expenditure in line with the CDF. As we stand, if we compare the CDF with the guidelines that have been released, if anything, if you study the CDF guidelines properly, you find that what we are supposed to be considering is supposed to be for last year, because people in those guidelines are supposed to apply for this year in February for consideration of projects in next year as budget. But we give leverage to an issue that there are teething problems whenever we are starting with something, and a challenge of that factor. Madam Speaker, allow the people of Chirubit to go further to indicate that the capacity for local authorities has been limited by the Public Financial Management Act of 2015, only in terms of the fiscal role that the local authorities are supposed to play. And in this case, you find that limitations of what has been mentioned, of what some of these things are supposed to be approved by the minister instead of the provincial local government authority and all that. Such causes unnecessary bottlenecks in terms of absorbing the budget. I know that by and large we have glorified the release of the money, but the people of Chirubit are still worried about two factors that they would like to put on table: that of the recruitment of teachers and that of the recruitment of health workers. As far as the people of Chirubit are concerned, when the Minister of Finance was talking about the recruitment of actually 44 civil servants, not 41, but 44 civil servants, he didn't indicate that much of what would come forth would come from special drawing rights. And I think that is still hanging in balance. We want to appreciate that the Minister of Health so far has released 930 million as what is in public domain towards the recruitment of health workers. As for the budget for the 30,000 of 30,000 teachers that are going to be recruited, people of Chirubit are still in the dark to know how much possibly has been released towards that end. And people of Chirubit, in as far as they want to support the adoption of the budget, especially the performance of the budget in the first quarter, are reluctant in terms of looking at the two items mentioned. Madam Speaker, people of Chirubit want to give an indication in line with the debt stock versus budget performance. The people of Chirubit are not sure whether the loan repayments of the loans repayments, at which month that they will be done and so forth. They say the first cut is the deepest. In as far as the first cut is the deepest, we can come up with a lot of steam, a lot of zeal as we stand the year, but the budget can collapse in our face if we are not sure of how we will deal with the debt stock versus budget performance in as far as loan repayment is concerned, because this seems to be a big burden for the nation. That's why people of Chirubit did indicate earlier that issues of economics are a meeting common denominator for all of us. And I think when we raise this concern, they should not be seen in any partisan lens. They should be seen in the right manner that they have been raised, because we raise them on behalf of Zambians, especially that one of our roles as members of parliament is to approve the budget. And I think what we approve should match with what is being done out there. And the people, to put it on record, the first quarter may attract a bit of excitement. And I think, Madam Speaker, we need to mark the way the beats of excitement. They are worried about the debt stock versus the budget performance of 2022. We have started addressing the need to talk about the 2023 budget. I've seen some of the adverts flying in the national berries, but we need also to address the issue of how do we match the 8th National Development Plan to the budgets. This one was amiss. Now the 2023 budget that we'll be talking about, because all these things correlate. And I think we cannot debate about these issues in the absence of the national plan for the nation, the 8th National Development Plan. Otherwise, we would be shooting in the dark. Madam Speaker, I would like to end on the note of encouraging the executive. I don't know whether it will be regular to bring the national youth, the 8th National Development Plan, which they have been talking about in different circles to Parliament. That is still missing as far as the people of Cherubim are concerned. Madam Speaker, we submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Technology and Science to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me start by thanking the mover of the motion, the MP for Mombam, and the seconder, the MP for Chama South. And I think it's quite clear from the mover and the seconder that the performance for the first quarter was described as impressive, as all the targets have been met, the budget releases have been on time, and the revenue target for the first quarter have been met. And I think this confirms that the principle of budget credibility and predictability has been fully grounded. However, they raise some challenges. One, the issue of the loans and guarantees bill. I want to assure this Honorable House that this bill is a major priority for government and it will be dealt with this year. They raise concerns on the issue of non-tax revenue that is slowing down. I wish to assure the House again that appropriate measures to enhance non-tax revenue are being made. The Honourable Member for MP for Skongo basically said the performance is satisfactory and also indicated that good things are beginning to happen, as elaborated by the recruitment of 30,000 teachers and nurses, payment of the retirement benefits, and the release of CDF. And it summarizes that the economy is back. Indeed, Madam Speaker, we are working very hard that the commitments that were pronounced in the budget are delivered to the people of Zambia in order to change their lives. The Honourable MP for Chulubi says he supports the budget, but raises concern around the absorption capacity, particularly of CDF. Madam Speaker, you recall that this matter was raised and a statement was made about the measures that are going to be taken in order to ensure that whatever bottlenecks that are in the way of the absorption capacity of CDF, the Minister of Local Government did put a roadmap to articulate what we are going to do. Regarding the 30,000 teachers recruitment, again, the Minister of Education also articulated in his ministerial statement the roadmap towards how this is going to be done.
The honorable member of Chulubi also raised the link between the budget and the 8th National Development Plan. I want to assure the member that the key pillars of the budget and the 8th National Development Plan are actually consistent. And the pillars that are both in the budget and in the 8th National Development Plan is one, economic transformation and job creation as pillar number 1, human development, which includes recruitment of teachers, includes recruitment of nurses, and indeed issues to do with CDF as pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is environmental sustainability, and pillar number 4, a good governance environment. These pillars are consistent with what is in the budget. Madam Speaker, let me also indicate to the House that, one, the plight of retirees has been addressed through the front loading of funds amounting to 2 billion in the first quarter of 2022 to clear everyone owed by 31st December 2021. Madam Speaker, again, you may wish to know that the Ministry of Finance released 400 million towards the dismantling of arrears owed to contractors and suppliers with amounts of 1 million or less, and all these ones have been fully paid. This represents the dismantling of almost 70% of amounts owed to contractors and suppliers. Madam Speaker, government remains committed to reaching an agreement with IMF. We reached a staff-level agreement with the fund in December 2021, and we are happy to report that the official creditor committee has since been formed. It held its first meeting on 16th June 2022, where Zambia presented its case. We remain hopeful that an agreement with the creditors will be reached quickly. Madam Speaker, the fiscal and monetary policy consolidation will not be undermined as the government finances its budget. The quality of government expenditure will be anchored on the need to create a conducive business environment for the private sector through the injection of liquidity in the economy, dismantling arrears owed to suppliers and contractors. Going forward, Madam Speaker, priority will not only be the creation of a conducive economic environment, but also to maximize the quality of expenditure and to ensure that the budget is consistent with the pillars of the 8th National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, government will enhance the prioritization of social spending, which includes provision of education for all, purchase of drugs and medical supplies, payment of retirees, social protection programs such as social cash transfer and food security packs, among others. This is evidenced in the continued release of funds, which currently stand at 17.3 billion, in line with the planned spending for these spending areas. Madam Speaker, In conclusion, I wish to thank the committee and the stakeholders for their invaluable input on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget. This is essential in ensuring that we drive the national development agenda together as one. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Member of Parliament for Momba wind up debate in 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I can only thank everyone for the support, including the Minister for his closing remarks. I beg to move, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the first quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries, provinces and spending agencies for the first session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th June 2022. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
The Judges' Conditions of Service Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2022, report stage.
The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the report of the committee be adopted.
As no notice has been received of any further amendment, is it your will that the report of the committee be adopted? Any objection? I see none. Report adopted. Day of third reading.
Next Tuesday, Madam Speaker.
Third reading of the bill will be taken on Tuesday, 27th June 2022. The acting leader of government business, adjournment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move that the House now do adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Business resumes next week on Tuesday. Just about now, we'll have a look at business that has been considered on the floor of the House today, Friday, 24th June 2022.